Finding good talent's always going to be a challenge, but I think retaining your good talent is often more of a challenge. I'm very fortunate in the business I'm in now. I think we do a lot of things with our team that do keep our talent, but there's a lot of external factors that a business has less control about, right? And we talked about some of those. You've got clients, you've got sites, you've got external workplaces, if you want to call them that, when they're going to meetings, that you have no control about how things might be happening there. I think for me, another challenge is communication. So we spoke earlier about, small things becoming large things. If we talk about it early, we diminish, if you like, the perception. But we should have workplaces where people know where they stand and know where they can go or where they're going.
Yep.
Because when we are communicating that regularly, and it's okay not to know as well. So a big thing is don't not have the conversation because you don't know where you want to go. That's the best time to have the conversation because then we can work it out together, right? So don't hold up or hold off because you don't know, because that's okay. But not doing it is not okay, because eventually perception comes in and then we lose our great talent. And, I've had some amazing conversations with people when they're about to leave a business. And I think, why didn't we have this conversation 6 months ago?
Yeah. Interesting.
I didn't know how to. So communication, I think, will always be a big challenge. And then so I've probably given more than two, but another one is giving feedback. So no matter how it makes you feel, that person giving the feedback, remember, it's not about you. It's about the person who's getting the feedback. So yes, you need to think about how you're going to give feedback, but not gifting people with that feedback is the worst thing you can do, because you don't allow that person to grow, right? So sharing great advice helps support and is the gift of growth. And a solid plan that comes out of that leads to success for all. So they all seem easy when you're talking about them now, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge to have people feel comfortable in those conversations and situations.
Well, I think the reason why it is challenging is because it's not necessarily a linear path, is it? We people tend to talk about it like it's a linear path. It's not. There, you have several staff.
Yeah.
At several levels, at different levels, different types of conversation, different personalities. You have your own workload and there are some urgent matters. There are some projects you got to work on. Getting buy-in from, people who manage the people you're talking to. And then there's other things that you really can't control. So things that, is happening in their own personal life, or that they want to go into a different direction or different industry. So you can't, it seems to be, we have a lot of people out there talking about this as if it's a simple thing to do, or it's a very linear thing to do. I think there's more nuances to that. I think you identified that the conversations you're having, or you have, shouldn't be put off because you don't necessarily have the result in mind, or you don't know what the answer might be. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. And I think with that, is also the growth side might be that someone wants to take a different path.
Yep.
And that's actually okay. It's not okay to continue doing what you're doing and not like it.
Yeah.
And the other part to that is, but what if I give them advice and they leave? Or what if I give feedback and they leave? And what if you don't give feedback and they stay? Because if they're not happy in what they're doing, we're not succeeding together. And I think that's I know it sounds a bit controversial, but it's more about let's get it out on the table. Like what can we do to support? What can we do to grow? What's our plan? How do we get there? And I think when we go down that path, we do have great teams and solid relationships as a consequence, because trust comes in, respect comes in for both sides. We get to know each other a bit more. It's all of those things.
It seems to me that you really focus on the relationship building. Would that be right to say? Like that's a
Definitely.
real big focus,
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot of, and when I say a lot of people, there seems to be a lot of really prominent voices out there, not just in human resource, but in leadership, all the big names with all the books and everything else. There seems to be so many different movements happening right now, so many different focuses right now. And it's probably reflected a little bit in some of the legal changes. It's probably reflected a little bit in what the media are focusing on.
Yeah.
From your perspective, does that they do just essentially then double down on what you're doing, or do you have to make changes in terms of how you see human resources going forward?
It's probably continually changing.
Yeah.
So whilst you can have a plan in HR, you're going to have to be resourceful enough to change that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If things change. Industry, we can have a downturn that completely changes the focus on what a team are going to do. You can have an upturn, completely changes the focus. You can win an enormous job. It completely changes the focus. So you have to remain nimble to be able to do that. Now, in most of the roles I've had, I've been a single operator in the HR space. And I've worked with teams that are 600 and 700 people strong, grown teams from sort of 60 something to 300 and something. And in a team now that we're just over the 100, which is great. I don't feel we need to have an enormous team around us to do it, because that takes away from that nimbleness, to be honest.